let's watch this video because I haven't watched any Malcolm Nance. And I've been told by the 21st Century Suffragettes, shout out Diane Russell over there, 21st Century Suffragettes, Benny Loco, shout out Benny Loco. They told me all about Malcolm Nance. And so I want to watch this video from Malcolm Nance. We're going to unmute it and not be terrible at our job. And it's about the Ukrainians bombing the Russian fleet, which of course Trump responded with, Putin says he's going to have to. He's going to have to retaliate. No shit, Donald. Like every other fucking day is Trump says Ukraine and Russia ready to have peace talks. And like 6 hours later, if not 6 minutes later, there's another article about Russia bombing Ukraine or Ukraine bombing Russia. I know that Trump's supporters are not smart enough to actually read articles, but this whole idea that fucking Russia and Ukraine are on the doorstep of peace is only Donald Trump gaslighting you into thinking that he has done anything at all that has been helpful to solving this problem in the war. In fact, if you want to be honest, and I am not at all, I don't feel this is a negative. If you want to be honest, Trump has accidentally ensconced America further in the conflict by signing the minerals agreement that says that America wants to have trade rights with Ukraine in any investiture that America makes in Ukrainian territories. Therefore, any new Ukrainian mines that are created with the help of America literally gives us a reason to fight against Russia if Russia crosses the line and tries to take those mines. Like Trump has actually done the exact opposite, just like everything else he says of what he said he was going to do. He's actually made us more involved in the Ukrainian conflict. The dude has no fucking idea what he's doing.
It's come to my attention that many of you are confused about just what happened between Ukraine and Russia the other day, and why the title of my video here is Russia Bombers Go Boom. Well, it's very simple. What we are seeing is...
Have you guys seen the pictures? The satellite pictures of the blown up blown up planes, and also they used AI to help with the drones, and this is something that had been talked about so far, about using AI in the drones to find the targets, because they use all these like stunt targets, and they use decoys. It's pretty crazy shit. And to think that, you know, when Ukraine was invaded, the news stories were like, Ukraine will be gone by the morning, right? It was like, Russia is invading, it's over for Ukraine. And now they literally have taken out a third of Putin's ability to transport nuclear weapons. Like, that is pretty fucking insane.
One of the greatest intelligence operations in history. And
you want me
that's
to play
saying
Randy
something,
Rainbow?
considering the number of intelligence operations that have been carried out by the Israelis that were just world class in the last year. As you might recall, the Israelis actually did a supply side intelligence operation where they actually hired a computer company, bid on a contract for Hezbollah to have cell phones, put explosives into those cell phones, let Hezbollah use them for a year or more, and then at the right time called all of Hezbollah.
Damn, they let him use them for a year or more. That is crazy. Warfare is like out of control.
Senior members, and blew their heads off with those bombs, which were actually working pagers. That was not just a brilliant intelligence operation. It was one which didn't really take any involvement of Israeli agents in Hezbollah in Lebanon or Syria. They just set up a factory in Asia, built the bombs, got the contract, and blew the Hezbollah operatives up. What we're seeing with Ukraine is something much different. This involved setting up spies inside of Russia who were there to create an intelligence chain of logistics of other spies that...
Do you like how, like, we have the dumbest president that has ever existed, and the dumbest president that has ever existed sat in the Oval Office with a guy who literally played a president in a sitcom. that ended up becoming president of his country and then had the balls to stay and fight a war that no one thought he could win. And our subpar, low IQ president looked at him and said, "You don't have any cards." He treated him like he was his lesser. Meanwhile, the former actor in a sitcom that became president set up something as unique as getting these people into these positions, or not unique, as complicated as setting up something with his, obviously with his leaders, with his generals, to get a spy network set up to make this happen in a country that is like a fucking, in 10 times as big as it is, has a billion times the infrastructure. Like, it's insane to think that our president thinks that he is smarter than Zelensky.
All around Russia,
And also
would
really
move
sad.
hundreds of drones that they built in Russia, put explosives on them, inserted them into the tops of trucks, and then drove those trucks thousands and thousands of kilometers. And instead of launching drones from Ukraine and letting them fly and get shot down by Russian air defense near these bases, which they couldn't reach, right? One of them was 1,500.
Yep, and I bet you Putin and the Russians 100% believed they were safe because of that. Because they knew, they thought for sure, 100%, that there was no way that the Ukrainians could do this. That is so crazy.
500 kilometers away from Russia, from Ukraine. They drove the trucks to within a kilometer or two, right? That's a few thousand yards. And
Yeah, what Skinny just said. Ukraine should be allowed into NATO immediately. Yeah, dude, that's the type of ally you want on your side. You want people that have that type of backbone. You want people that are that creative with the resources that they have. If there was a group of people that had proved themselves worthy of being in NATO in the past decade or more, I don't know of anybody other than the Ukrainians that have shown the type of steel that they have during this time. I mean, like I said, nobody gave them a chance. Everybody, Democrat, Republican, everybody said that Russia was going to roll right over them.
launched drones in a swarm that went, identified the bombers, landed, and blew up. Now, why is this one of the greatest intelligence operations in history? I have studied the history of intelligence.
Hold on. Angela says, I feel like the movie Idiocracy in 1930s Germany got together and said, hold our beer. Oh, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
Lady, I got buddies who died face down in the muck so that you and I could enjoy this family restaurant.
Going back to Mesopotamia, landed and blew up. Now, why is this one of the greatest intelligence operations in history? I have studied the history of intelligence going back to Mesopotamia to today. And what we are seeing here is an operation that wasn't just done with all of this, with just the logistics, the supply chain. These spies had to live in Russia for 1 year, according to President Zelensky, 1 year, 6 months, and 9 days to execute this operation.
So once again, like somebody just said the whole time, Zelensky's had this ace in his hand, right? So when he's in the Oval Office with Trump, and Trump's being the moron that he is, and Trump's yelling at him, and Vance is saying, say thank you, say thank you. I mean, this might have been when he was suffering from his hillbilly problem, so we could always use that as an excuse. This whole time, Zelensky knows that he has this ace in the hole. Dude, that guy is, I'm sorry, I don't know Zelensky from many other world leaders. I know about as much as Zelensky as I do about Xi Jinping, right? I know what you can read. I know what I have access to. I don't know who he is as a person. I don't know whether or not he's corruptible or not. But what I do know is that man sat there and took that shit from those fucking morons, knowing that he had this to do, and then he did this shit, and that's some gangster shit, dude. That is straight up gangster.
Purpose of the mission was that Ukraine was being bombarded with these old Cold War relic aircraft, the Tu-95 Bear bomber and the Tu-22 M3 backfire bomber. These bombers were being used as strategic missile launchers and carriers. So they would have 8 to 16 missiles on rails, or they would carry one very large missile or two medium-sized missiles, would come up, fly towards the Ukrainian border, never penetrate Ukrainian airspace, and launch hundreds and hundreds of missiles per night. Ukraine had been bombarded with these missiles daily for over 3 years. So
you can see the thinking. You can see what they're thinking. When something like that is happening, you have to be creative. You're getting together with people and you're saying to yourselves, like, we can't allow this to continue to go on. If we do, we're done. And that's, this is what I keep saying is, like, human beings were precipice species, right? A lot of times the biggest innovations that come from our society, a lot of them actually come from warfare, but they come from humanity reaching a precipice. And we believe everything's fine, and we don't want to change things until we get to that precipice. And then when we get there and we're forced to, like, change things, we become really innovative and really creative. And that's what actually made America so, like, innovative, was, like, all the adversity that the country's history has brought upon the many different people that live here. All the people that were immigrants that came here, the slaves that were brought over here, that were freed. There was so much, or there is so much adversity packed in the first 250 years of American history, and that has bred all this innovation, and also us being minorly insane, but it breeds all that innovation, and to see that from the Ukrainians once again, that's very impressive. That makes me feel like so much respect for those people, not just giving in and, like, holding that line. There's so many people, Trump included, that Trump would sell America down the river if he thought that he had a chance to lose. If he thought for 1 second that he would be humiliated by losing, he would just sell America down the river.
And a concept called kill the archer, not the arrow, which is an air defense concept of don't destroy the missile that's coming in by using another missile or guns to shoot it down. Blow up the platform that is actually launching them so that they may never launch it again, right? So like an archer, you don't intercept the arrow, you intercept the archer by killing the archer.
Yep.
So the Ukrainians decided to put into play this kill the archer, not the arrow missile operation by inserting spies into south central Russia in the 7th largest city in Russia called Chelyabinsk, which is there like Detroit. This is where cars and trucks are manufactured.
Oh, and there's, like, tons of empty houses. And their football team goes 0-16, and then it, like, comes back and it does really good. And, like, Barry Sanders quits. And then they have, like, another decade of it being really bad. Oh wait, okay, sorry. I went off on sports. My bad.
This city is on the border of Kazakhstan, which is a former Soviet republic, rife with smuggling and infiltration, an easy place to get into, and also an easy place to get your explosives and equipment, and where money talks. So the Ukrainians set up a bomb factory in that city, assembled drones which were purpose-built by Ukraine for this mission, and some of the components.
Okay, well, that's
out front now. President Alexander Stubb of Finland, and
apparently CNN just cut right in there like this is breaking news. Putin is playing with fire. Putin steps up air assault. Finland's president says Putin made one of the biggest strategic mistakes in recent military history. That's from a week ago. Sounds like he did make a pretty big mistake. All right, Malcolm Nance. We'll have to watch some more of his videos. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like people that have like expertise and not just watching talking heads. I know that I don't know everything. I know that, there's plenty for me to still learn. So I really like that video. If you don't know Malcolm Nance, if you haven't watched Malcolm Nance's videos, you should probably go check that out. That is pretty good stuff. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and check out that video on the screen now.